Well, hello, I'm Ed Parcaut, your host of Real Estate Jerky, and this is our live that we do on Tuesdays from the person who's been on the radio over the weekend. Last weekend, we had Robert Atkins on with Remax Executive. Is Executive of Modesto or just Remax of Modesto?
No, it's Executive, yeah, because we also have a branch that's in Oakdale and Ripon and Antigua.
Oh, okay. So you have a few of them.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So our show last week that we talked about on the weekend was about relocating out of state. And it's important. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up, besides having Robert on, because he does a lot of relocating for people who are leaving the state, was a lot of people I want to make sure before you leave the state, make sure you think about everything before you leave the state, because once you leave the state, it's much harder to come back because the appreciation that we get in California, if you're gone a year or 2 years, you might not be able to afford what you used to be able to afford when you come back. So
absolutely, yes.
What do you say the number one thing that people should think about before they're moving out of state?
Well, to tie into what you were just saying, if there's ever a chance you want to come back, you really kind of have to plan for that. A lot of folks will get a job transfer, and there's certain employers that might transfer you every 3 years to a different state. But if eventually you want to come back home, like you said, you might be priced out of the market. People's style of living kind of adjusts based on what the income is you have. And obviously, the cost of living in California in certain aspects is more expensive than most states.
Well, unless you go to New York or you go to certain places. I mean,
there's the outliers, right?
Yeah.
Any of the coastal states.
Yeah, but I mean, so have you had anybody who rented their house here, moved to a different state, made sure they wanted it, and then bought the house and sold the one here? Have you had anybody do that yet?
No, I haven't had anyone do that yet.
Yeah, go ahead.
You say a lot of folks are really terrified of being landlords, and rightfully so, because if you don't put the right tenant in,
and also California, right?
Yeah, well, a lot of renters think that the landlords have all the laws in their favors, but it's actually the opposite. So if you make a mistake and put the wrong tenant in there, and they know all their rights and appeals, and say you have to go to eviction, that could take 3 months and cost you about $2,500 that you might recoup in the future. So I haven't had any clients as of yet either.
All right, well, let's move on because I don't want to be negative about that today. I mean, it's Tuesday. We're back from a 3-day weekend. Hopefully everybody had the yesterday off. Top 10 reasons. I'm just going to read something that Marlene gave me a while back. Was top 10 reasons people relocate to another state. Family has grown, job transfer, school, college, empty nesters, climate, upgrading the lifestyle, fresh start, be closer to family. Which one of those were most of your clients that you were help relocating?
Closer to family and then school. So obviously, here in California, I think we have the best climate really out of all 50 states, as far as like seasons and availability of different climates just within our state.
And within an hour. I mean, if you're in Modesto, I mean, you can get from the heat to the very cold by the coast within a few minutes, within 60 minutes or so, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember. I think it was a Toyota commercial. It was for the Highlander, where it showed them snowboarding in the morning and then surfing in the evening.
Yeah,
and that kind of sums it up.
And you definitely can do that, especially in Southern California, because it's much better surfing down there.
Yeah, there's not really any surfing up here.
Well, it's just cold, just really cold. But all right, so let's go through a process of when people are thinking about relocating. What's the first step they should do?
So the first thing, obviously, you want to contact your local agent at the place, the location where you're going to be moving. And a local agent should really get you set up for your move going out there. So what I like to do is once I know where they're going, I try and find an agent, and I'll do my research. But with Remax, we have a network where you can refer agents, but oftentimes I'll just look online. I'll find someone who has decent reviews and give them a call, especially if they're in the service area. And then once we have agents on both ends set up, then obviously they can start looking for homes. Normally it's going to be online. And most folks will actually, maybe have a family member that looks at the house and they kind of write an offer sight unseen, just with the advice of the family member. and then we can coordinate back and forth.
And just about closing. I mean, a lot of people wonder if you can close concurrently. You can. Just because it's in a different state doesn't matter. VA, same way. No matter if you're moving, you still can go concurrent. Some states are a little different than California, where we are an escrow state, and other states are not an escrow state, which just means you use attorneys and titles totally different. And when you close, they hand you the keys. It's over. Where in California, when you close, they don't normally get the keys till the afternoon or the next day.
Correct. Yeah, so it records.
Yeah. A little different. So where were your people moving to? Top place?
Top place was Texas and Tennessee. That's where I've had the most clients go to.
Yeah. And who's been gone the longest?
Well, I would say the longest would have been one of my first clients that I had that moved to Bullhead City. They've been gone for 3 years. They like it
Idaho?
there. Sorry?
Bullhead City?
Oh, no, Arizona.
Arizona. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a California, Colorado, Texas. I know those, but not Arizona.
Yeah. Bullhead City, Arizona is about the hottest place in Arizona. So,
good.
But they're enjoying it there. They have talked about moving a little bit further. They just feel like the politics of the state is changing. So they kind of left for different reasons. It had to do with homeschooling and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, I think unfortunately with the amount of people who've left California, or fortunately, some of the states are upset that there are politics, but I don't want to get into that part of it. But everything's changing. I've heard complaints from people from Arizona, Texas, you name it, wherever it is, Idaho. They're all complaining, but we all complain about people who move into different places. So I don't think it's any different. We'll just let's see here. So top 10 states to live in the United States: Washington, Minnesota, Utah, New Hampshire, Idaho, Nebraska, Virginia, Wisconsin, and Massachusetts, and Florida. I don't see Texas on there, but
which is surprising. I'm surprised.
Yeah. Well, I think people are just, maybe they just didn't respond.
or sometimes their metrics are kind of different than what the average person would think of, because they'll go off like number of libraries and proximity to hospitals. Is that what that's based off of?
No, there's top states to live in the United States graded by healthcare, education, economy, infrastructure, opportunity, fiscal stability, crime and corrections, natural environment. And this is from U.S. News and U.S. News reports. Gotcha. That's what they reported. I would think myself, it would be Texas, Tennessee, where it'd be the top, because that's where most people, Florida, some of those places. But I think a lot of it, and this could have been a study that was done, but now if you look at it, what's the best states to move to because of COVID, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would have been Texas, Florida, Tennessee, some of these other states where they were open much faster than other places. My thing is, going forward, are people going to be still moving as much because of, what's going on right now? And I did notice, I was looking at some stuff. I was reading this thing from Harvard University put out, the Joint Centers for Housing and Studies of Harvard University put out the State of the Nation's Housing Report 2021 right here. And they're just talking about, why people are moving, this different things. And it's just, they're saying, we finally got 1.5 million homes being built nationwide right now. Right. That's what they're going to do this year, which is we're still so far behind. So going forward now, if you're looking at what's going to happen, are people still going to move? When I was in Las Vegas, there was so much building going on, but it's not the cheapest it's ever been. Right. It's expensive to move there. So, I mean, for me, when I look at a different state, I look at first thing for me is climate.
Yeah. In Las Vegas, as anyone who's been there knows, it gets really hot.
So does Arizona.
Yeah,
So does Texas is not so hot, but extremely humid. Same with Florida. Same with and that's what two things you have to deal with that you have to look at. I always said, if you leave California, things you have to deal with that you're not used to is, first thing is weather, right? Like you said in the beginning, we have some of the best weather in California. We do. You go to a different state, it's a totally different thing. Oregon, Washington, you got a lot of rain. That's why it's green. Other places it's green because of humidity. It's like being in Mexico. And then other thing is, a lot of people were moving to Spain and other places, which is so much cheaper to live. But then you still have to deal with a lot of other stuff. So
But yeah, then unless you speak Spanish, then obviously you got to learn a new language plus a new culture.
Okay. Some of our states, you have to learn a new language too.
Yeah, depending on the part of the state, right?
Right, and the culture.
So I lived in Virginia Beach for a total of 10 years. So I can speak personally to that state. I lived in Maryland. There's really not any states I've been where I was like, I could absolutely not live here. Of course, I've never gone through like a Minnesota winter, so I can't attest to that. But I was telling you about my clients that moved out to Iowa. They've been out there about a year and a half now, and they absolutely love it there. They weren't too excited about the winter, but they got through it. They didn't think it was that bad. But as far as the culture that they moved out to, they really loved it.
And I think a lot of people are going to start, especially with California, going to start moving because affordability, right? It's some of the most unaffordable. I mean, we still are we're so affordable than we've ever been. If you look at the statistics in California and other states, but for a lot of people, they can't afford where they want to live and they can't move out further in the country than they can. So their next step is going to be moving out of state. The top, I have a chart here I'm looking at. Sorry. It says the top 10 most affordable states. Who do you think is number one?
Number one? Man, that's a good question. Iowa?
You can't miss an I in it.
Iowa?
Or S. No. Mississippi.
Oh, Mississippi. Yeah, that's the state I haven't had anyone move there yet.
Yeah, it has the lowest cost of living in all 50 states. An average home is $252,725. Median household income is $45,792. Madison population 25,000. Ocean Springs by Biloxi. Those are the places to live at. The next one is Kansas. It's best place to live in Kansas. Leawood, average home 398,000. Household income, what a difference, 139,000. So wow, that's weird because for most affordable, their average house is 398. What's the average house in Modesto?
Right about there, yeah, right. 415.
Yeah. So I mean, Mississippi, yeah, you get $100,000 difference, but then you're dealing with a totally different world, right?
Yeah,
and it's like weather, other stuff, kind of.
Climate, definitely, yeah.
Oklahoma is the second cheapest state to live in. Alabama, number 4. Arkansas, number 5. Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri, Michigan, and Indiana. I didn't know about Indiana.
I have a friend that I was in the service with, and he lives in Indiana. He has like 51 acres, a new house, and 2 shops and a barn. And he got it for all under $400,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it just depends on why you want to leave California, right? If you're going to make it more affordable, lifestyle change. I know a lot of people who bought places in, Wyoming and to get land and be able, raise their family on a big property. I'm just saying, before you do that, make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's, because a lot of people said, I'm moving to Texas, so it's so much cheaper, but they didn't look at the fact that tax rates are so much more expensive in Texas. It's 3% for property, and it's only 1.25% here. I think in Nevada it's 0.55 or 0.65, something like that. I mean, the problem is, I asked so many people, and they're like, I don't know, it's so cheap, we don't even check, right? And it's like not the right answer. So it's half of what it's here, but then you got weather things. So, but they also have to look at, like in Florida, right? The insurance rates are so ridiculously high. I mean, yeah, some places in California are that way too, with the fire, right? The fire, like up in Tuolumne County, Calaveras County, San Diego County. Some of those places back up to fire zones. You have to look at the fire insurance and how expensive that is. So, did you save by moving, but now you're paying $300 a month for insurance, and you're paying another, say $400, say on a $500, say you're buying a $300,000 house there. It's $9,000 for taxes versus, $4,000, right? Plus insurance, Yeah,
and all the research I've done, there's slight savings, but the states aren't too far off from one another. Right. If your median income is down lower than California, that means your median home price is going to be down, but it's kind of a wash.
So what we're saying is, basically, most people, if they're moving, they're not moving because it's more affordable. They're moving because they want a lifestyle change. And if that's the case, that's different. because or homeschooling, or they wanted it there. It was more open during COVID. So let's just go through the process. So if somebody's moving, list their house, you help them find a house there, right? And then you set it up to close concurrently. All right. So the biggest thing I think out of all that would be the move, right? How do you get your stuff there?
Correct. Yes. So right now there's a shortage of U-Hauls for going out of the state of California. Even some of like the local ones, I've had folks that have moved out of the apartments I manage, and they have a hard time finding a U-Haul just in town. So there are different long haul companies like Mayflower where they'll drop off a trailer, and you can either rent the whole trailer or you can rent a portion of the trailer, and you can load it yourself, and they'll pick it up, and then within about a week they'll bring it to whatever destination you're landing at. So for folks that are going to be driving, say, out to Midwest or across the country, they might actually get there a day or two before all their items appear. So that's really the best way to do it, especially if you're taking vehicles, because otherwise, say you do get a U-Haul, the rates are going to be more expensive going cross country. Then you have to have a trailer with your vehicle on it. I have some friends that are moving out to Tennessee. Also, they're leaving this weekend, and they have two adult children that are driving their own vehicles, and mom and dad are driving theirs, and they're heading out. But yeah, everything's getting picked up at their house.
Yeah, because the one thing that people don't realize is with all the U-Hauls moving out, how do they get them back? It used to be they'd leave and bring one back, leave. Now they're everything leaving. So,
Yeah.
But one of the things we want to talk about and get things you should do wherever you're moving to, visit that city in the worst weather of the year, right? If it's a hot, be there during the summer. If it's cold, be there during the winter. Research the schools, check to make sure these schools are what you're looking for. Because a lot of, and I don't mean this, kids are the most important to parents. Where are these schools at? How are they doing? They can't be any worse in California schools. So yeah, homeschool if you need to. Budget wisely. Moving is expensive. Professional movers average between $45,000 to $5,000 to move. And that's not that much from moving from one house to another. We've moved multiple times in this area, and it's $3,000 just to move a family in Modesto. So
yeah, no, it's super pricey. Like what you mentioned with schools, when we were looking around Texas, especially like the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yeah, because you guys were looking and thinking about leaving too, right?
Yeah, and we went and visited there, and almost all of their schools are between an 8 to 9 out of 10. I mean, they have excellent education. And for anyone who's not been in Texas, but is from California, especially like the Central Valley, culturally, it is not quite night and day, but there's a big difference. I mean, the streets are clean. This, of course, I'm speaking for Dallas-Fort Worth, that whole area that I went to. Streets are clean. There's no graffiti. People are polite. It's just wasn't what I was expecting going to Texas, especially a big metropolitan area.
Well, that's why they have signs, don't mess with Texas all over the road, don't litter. There's a reason those signs are there. But I mean, that's the difference between the Valley, the Bay, and going up to even Tuolumne County. Most of the people who live there are very nice, right? Yeah. That's the same. The people who trash it are the people who come and visit and dump their ash. I mean, I took a picture of it on the ground this last weekend. Someone dumped all their ashes on the ground right outside, and it's in the wilderness. It's like, are you serious? Yeah. So, all right. So budget wisely, moving's expensive. Please verify that you get the right movers, right? Check into hire a moving company that people know about, they've used before. These are basic stuff, but people don't think about it. The other thing is pare down. I mean, do you really need all that? I mean, I just redid my closets in our house, right? We have an older home. My wife has a small walk-in closet, and then they have the original 2 closets on the other side. I finally took everything out of them and redid them, put drawers and everything in there. And it's like, do I really? I got rid of so much clothes. It's like, wow, I didn't realize you need to move to get rid of stuff. Purge, donate, and donate to a reputable company a local company that needs it. Or for veterans, we're both veterans. Disabled American veterans. Donate your stuff to them. Jump in here anytime, Robert, if you need me to shut up.
No. I like listening to you talk, but Purging. I think that is something, if people know, like most folks know that they're really thinking about moving, and if, especially making a big move, start purging 6 months ahead of time. Because what we'll see a lot of times is someone's looking at houses online where they want to move to. They see a house and they say, I want to buy that house. And then, so they're kind of going in reverse, right? So now they want to sign a contract on a house out of state, and then they want to start doing all the hard work of getting the property ready, getting it on the market, finding a buyer, and then you have the extra added stress of time frame. So,
right, and then also don't forget when you move out of state, health insurance changes, driver's license, vehicle registration, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff you don't want to have to take care of.
I'm sure it's much easier than California, right? I'm sure they don't have. Yeah, I remember actually. I don't know if it's still there. I remember when we lived as a kid in Colorado, they'd have these little. You have to have your car checked out every so often and get these little stickers put on them that you passed the safety test.
Yeah. Well, like Virginia and Maryland, they have safety inspections, but no smog.
Right.
We're out here. They don't care if you're driving, a jalopy as long as it's not polluting, right? They have 3 wheels and they're going to pass you.
Yeah. Or just move to a country area and register it there. Then they don't smog you.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the one good thing about Tuolumne, right?
Yeah, that is the best thing.
I wonder how long that'll last.
I don't know. Depends on who's governor for how much longer.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. Because the dumbest thing is like, the new diesels, you can't do anything to them. There's already so much horsepower or whatever, but they want to have it looked at every year to make sure you didn't take anything off of it and you're paying for it. It's like, how stupid. Yeah. With now having it up there, I don't have to do that. I don't have to pay some. Yeah. He goes, this is the easiest money I ever made. It's like, yeah, I understand that, but it's stupid. All because you guys want to make sure of this. So bottom line, when you're thinking about moving, research it, contact Robert. Robert, what's your phone number here locally?
Yes, 209-550-1087. That's my cell phone number. Right. The easiest way to reach me.
Right. And before you do anything else, right, you're thinking about moving, well, you need to make sure that you can buy that house that you're moving to. And I think the number one thing people don't think about is, can I get a new loan? I have a house. Why can't I get a new loan? Well, you just went through COVID and you missed a couple payments, or you did this. They weren't supposed to show me late. Yeah, well, it doesn't always work that way. So, or they notice that, certain things are changed, and you need to make sure where you're moving to that you have that job also, because in order to buy a house there, you have to have a job there, right? And that's what I run into with people from Southern California or Bay Area moving up to Tuolumne County and Calaveras County. Are you going to commute? Yeah, from San Luis Obispo. No, you're not commuting from San Luis Obispo up there. You got to transfer jobs, right? Yeah. And once you do that, then we can do it, or get a letter, and then if you have your first paycheck, then we can close. And that's the one thing. So unless you're, that's those little things that people need to work on. So,
yeah. Now, a handful of the clients I've had that have moved out of California, they had so much equity in their house, they just paid cash.
Right.
But like you said, obviously, if you don't show proof of employment, why would they write a loan for you?
Right. The other thing I've had where people have taken money out of their house in California, went and bought it as a second home, and then made sure, right? But this goes to that whole thing, whether you want to rent or not, right? And you just, what you're going to do, because then you have 3 years from the date that you leave to sell the house and still not have capital gains. And that appreciation over those 3 years while you're living in that state. So for me, if I was going to, even when we build our forever home in Tuolumne County up in Sweetheart, we're still going to keep the house down here for a few years, as long as I can, to see how much more appreciation I can get out of it.
Yeah.
That just means more equity taken off more equity I have on the other house. Right.
But then once you sell that, you'll just have your main residence in Tuolumne.
Yeah. On 32 acres, how much more do you need?
No, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
But how's the maintenance on all that land though?
Well, that's what we hired some people to do that, and that's what they've been working on. You pay a couple people that thing clean this easement that's not an easement. People, you can tune off if you want, but the easement that's on this road, right? It's actually, not us, but some people in the past had dedicated it to back in 76 or 75, said, okay, here's your dedication so you can make it a road. right? It was the old railroad. Well, the problem was in 77, the county says, we're only going to go to here. We're not going to go any further. We're not going to consider that a road. So in 77, that's what they said. So it's not a road. It is an easement for TUD, but it was the old Sugar Pine Railroad. So people were used to just going across it. Well, just because you're used to going across it doesn't mean that you have right to go across it. I look at it like the canal bank. Yeah, you can go across it, but they can stop you if they want to, right? Because you don't own it. So we had our attorneys I hired some attorneys because I went to county. They said, yeah, no problem at all. I'm like, I'm going to hire attorneys to make sure there's no issue before I do this. And they reviewed it and they said, yeah, no problem. So we're going to release this dedication. I'm like, what's that? And they go, well, whoever had it before said they can dedicate it to the city so they can make a road off of it. We don't want to do that now. So we sent letter saying we're not going to dedicate. We removed the dedication. They sent a letter back saying, oh no, down the road someday we might use it for this walking path back in 2002 that they created. It's been 20 years. They haven't done anything with it. And so my attorney sent another back. Just because you think you might do something doesn't mean you can keep our dedication. We are removing it. You don't get it. We're done. And I had a friend of mine who is a public works director, and he's like, yeah, we just took one over from 100 years ago. So right there. Right. And that right there was enough to, I don't want to say piss me off, but enough to say, okay, we're moving it so nobody else can have access to it so that we can, because one of the things you want to do is when your wife's at home by herself and say, yeah, I'm out doing something else at a Steve Sims speakeasy or whatever, I don't have to worry about someone going through this road that between our property, which they don't have rights to, messing around, and she has to deal with it. This way we can put gates on both sides.
Yeah.
And they'll be up this next weekend. We finally got the right people to do that. While they're clearing the road, now the same people are going to make and put the gates in.
So. Is that like a crew up there that does that for a lot of their properties, or is there just some guys you ran across?
It's a guy I'm helping to get a home loan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he came to me, and then they were going to do this lease option to buy. They're in it. Where we help them do a few things like fix their credit. I'm just saying long term, if somebody's getting into something like that, our goal is it's a 1 year thing. Let's get them where they need to be within that 1 year so they can buy that property. And he's like, I'm a equipment move. Well, this is what I need done. Can you know? Oh, I can do that. Okay. Well, give me a bid. Okay. And it was a half of what he had bid it for.
Nice.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it was only like 3 days of me, and one of the days of me by myself. And I mean, my wife's like just so in awe because there's so many trees and dead trees along this driveway that's going to go up to our new place that she's worried that during the winter they're going to drop and we have to deal with it. And there's already those dropped that we'd have to deal with. And they cleared all that stuff out, shredded it up, and there's just a few big, trees left that's our cut ready to go. That I'm like, can you take those to the mill right there and have them cut them into boards for me? But it's pine, you know what I mean? So it's only a finished wood. But for me, I mean, pine would be good enough for me to build anything out of,
Yeah, any kind of project is always cool to make that, with something for your property.
Right. Well, and yeah, you never know, because eventually that 22 acres that we're separating 10 acres off, and this road is an easement for both sides now. We build a couple different houses down over on the other side, down the road for our kids or whatever. So that way they're there, but they're not there.
Right. I get you. A few acres.
Come on over, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Go visit down there. Go stay down there in your own place. Robert, I want to thank you for being on today.
Thank you, Ed.
I think we talked more than about us, what we're talking about, more than helping people. I don't know. I hope somebody got something out of this today. And again, thank you for being on the radio last weekend. I really appreciate you being on.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, same here, man. So don't move. Or if you do, I got to get licensed there so I can get business from you. All right, Robert, stay right there. And everybody else, thanks for watching. And again, we're here Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m., Monday through Friday. So we're at 11 a.m. So it is Tuesdays and Thursdays every week, 11 a.m., unless I'm at Steve Sims Speakeasy in a couple weeks. All right, Robert, stay right there. And everybody else, have a great day.